the chairman and founder of iHouse and also iHouse Token. So we have already raised $25 million in January, and we have been now getting this in the 5 crypto exchange. So this is our product. So I'm going to have a short presentation to offer you how to tokenize an asset and how to buy a real estate project's user rights like $. So our product is called ATO, Assets Tokenization Offering. So this is our product. So the global real estate market is huge. It's like 270 billion US. So we are trying to tokenize the assets in terms of the usage, so that to help every single individual to invest a real estate user rights down to like hundreds of $. So basically, we have several products within the iHouse ecosystem, and iHouse Token is the first product we launched, which is a cryptocurrency that we help asset owner to connect to the financial institution and also the end users. So we provide the users a new way. I mean, the asset owner and the users to connect each other by our smart contract and also our token HT. So we provide a new way of fundraising, and also we provide a certificate of the improve of the liquidity, because we will have a crypto exchange after in the second half, so that to enhance the liquidity of our real estate usage token. And also, IHT helps to reduce the transaction hurdles and also the transaction costs. Okay, so actually there's a lot of benefits to tokenize the assets and make use of the blockchain technology here. Our mission is to enable every single individual can enjoy getting a real estate project's user rights, and also can participate in the shared economy, because we are sharing the assets to everyone. So our vision is to create a trustworthy shared economy assets management platform globally. We are making use of the blockchain and smart contract, and also just like a risk product. And but the users buying here is buying a user right of the assets. So just imagine every hotel, co-working space, or hostels can issue their membership token for our platform. And our platform will help users to manage, monitor, and escrow the asset shares on our platform, so that to provide a secure investment behavior there. We are trying to split the assets by smart contract, so we make use of blockchain a lot. So yeah, there's like several sharing housing model right now. For example, like just mentioned here, like Airbnb or WeWork. Yeah, they are all the sharing platform in terms of the residential and then also commercial buildings. So we're trying to tokenize the assets by sharing every asset to and marked on blockchain. So we will have different vertical brands after we get into the through the ATO products. So we will get into the resorts, hotel, and also co-working space by our ATO product. And then we tokenize the assets right, and then help asset owner to manage the assets better in terms of fundraising, marketing, and operation. We always talk about ICO the last 12 months or 18 months, but we would like to propose a new concept, which is called ATO, which the risk is lower than ICO if we just like compare the risk of ICO. And we also have the a expected return on that, because ICO is like more volatile. And we also have the project requirement is higher, because we need to have the assets first before doing the ATO. And we also have the supervision under our team. We will have a team from both China, Hong Kong, Japan, and US to help you to manage the assets. So this is our first project we already launched last Thursday, which is a resort in Japan's Karuizawa. So that's a very popular travel spot in Japan, and we are having one of the largest land developers there to work with us to co-develop this resort. So we have already issued our first ATO white paper in our website, ihouse.com, and we are also already have over 10 million US subscription. So from May, we will try to start the second phase of the fundraising, and then we will also launch the second project of our ATO platform. So users basically got their usage token through the ATO, so that they can enjoy the usage variation upside from the maturity of the assets, and also from the retail price. We expect the raise. So users can apply for the ATO investment through our website or for our community through Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, WeChat, whatsoever, so that you get invested into this ATO product. So we have a global development plan. We now have the team. We start the company in Hong Kong in 9 months before, and we now already have a development team in Beijing, Shanghai, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and also San Francisco. I'm very glad to be in LA to introduce our concept to all of you. So this quarter, we have already launched the product in Japan, and we will have a very big development plan in Japan in the next 9 months. And we will launch US and Korea and Southeast Asia in the second half of this year. And then we target to expand our product globally next year. By end of Q4, we will cover top 10 major cities globally. So we also have a product called IHT Pay, which is a payment ecosystem to under ihouse.com, so that users can invest for IHT Pay to accept. We accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, IHT, and USDT as the cryptocurrency to invest in cost region properties. For example, now Japan is already in place, and the US will be the next market. Okay, so this is a brief presentation here. So please contact us through i-house.com or get to our community on Telegram. So it is IHTCon. So you can also buy our tokens through the listed exchange. For example, like Gates.io and also KuCoin, we already list there. So thank you everyone.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Hang on here. All right, thank you. All right, thank you everybody for sticking around for the future of real estate crowdfunding, including tokenization and blockchain. My name is Andy Dix. I am the founder and CEO of the Crowd Media Group. We are the publishers of Crowdfund Insider. We cover the full stack of fintech, including crypto and blockchain, and of course, real estate investing. We've already heard from Ricky because he gave an excellent presentation a few minutes ago, but I'm going to ask each of our panelists, because we've got a big group here, to kind of go down the line. We're going to start at the end here and ask them to give a quick explanation as to who they are, what they're doing, and what their spin is on real estate and blockchain in general. So we're going to start with Rand down there, please. Go for it.
So, good evening, my name is Rayan Arif, and I'm the founder of FundingTree.com. FundingTree is a platform. It's essentially a blockchain-related platform where we're doing a peer-to-peer match between assets and projects that require funding, and then we're matching them to the investors. But in this case, the investors are institutions, not necessarily crowdfunding. And we're doing this on a platform where we build the technology to create a better matching system. And that's what we did.
My name is Eric Malley. I'm from MG Capital. I'm the founder and CEO. We're an 18-year-old real estate private equity fund that enables retail investors globally to hold an equity interest in hundreds of income-producing properties, all of which are diversified across more than 100 buildings in 15 different neighborhoods in Manhattan. And 6 months ago, we launched an online investment portal, and we've raised approximately $30 million from nearly 300 investors in just a few short months. And as we look forward to the future and exploring the importance of the blockchain, we're evaluating the possibility of potentially even tokenizing our services in the future so that in 2019 we might be able to expand our growth.
Hi, I'm John Marcassini. I'm the co-founder of blockchainbeach.com. We're a Santa Monica-based digital media publication covering blockchain technology and emerging token economies, which real estate is an emerging vertical that we cover.
All right, we already heard from you, Ricky, so we're going to jump to Phil.
All right, I'm Phil Sigler. I'm the visionary behind the Lending Coin, and we're a blockchain-empowered real estate lending platform where we're offering 0.25% below prime, which no bank can offer, for refinancing commercial real estate.
Excellent. So we've got a very diverse group here with different perspectives on the real estate market. First of all, as Ricky mentioned here just a minute ago, the global real estate market is enormous. It's huge. It's over $230 trillion, give or take a trillion here and there. So that's big. The U.S. real estate market is measured in trillions as well. I think it's about 30-some trillion, something like that. So again, we're talking about a lot of money. I think just about everybody here the past couple days have talked about the ICO market or the crypto market, and we think it's pretty cool because it's kind of big at 6.5 billion so far for 2018. We expect this to maybe go to 20 billion. But then you compare the two market sizes. Real estate, we're talking trillions. Crypto, right now, we're in billions. So my thought is here is there's a bit of a market opportunity to kind of match or pair real estate as an asset class with distributed ledger technology. So I'm going to start with Eric here, because Eric, you're more of a traditional private equity type platform that has moved into online capital formation, effectively crowdfunding under 506C Reg D, and you are looking at blockchain now. So why would you consider moving into the blockchain space, the crypto space? Is there an opportunity there? Are you still evaluating it? I mean, you're doing well now. You're raising lots of money. Do you need it?
Well, of course, I think that's one of the most unique challenges, right? Is it's not just about capital raising, it's about giving investors who would like to own an equity interest in real estate the ability to do so, and facilitating a friction-free environment for them to be able to have access to high-quality investment products. So as we look at the blockchain, we have to think about how we can facilitate that in a more transparent and qualified manner so that those investors are actually getting what they're looking for. We're exploring the possibility because we know that the investor landscape across the United States is massive, but when you start to look outside the United States, it really becomes about cross-border transactions. And so we think that blockchain can improve our ability to reach investors who are looking to have access to the U.S. real estate market, in particular our strategy, which is focused on the Manhattan real estate market.
So you're convinced now, after you've been infected by the enthusiasm of this crowd and everybody here is at the Crypto Invest Summit, right?
Well, I've enjoyed the last couple of days for sure.
All right. So let's jump over. Ricky, you're doing it now, and you've raised a lot of money. You have big name investors like Tim Draper's backed this guy, and Tim Draper's an interesting guy to work with. So you are doing a utility token. Now, hasn't the Securities and Exchange Commission told us that a utility token doesn't really exist? I mean, how are you doing this?
First of all, actually we have a discussion before. Actually, we are not trying to securitize the assets. We are trying to tokenize the assets by the user's right. So it's just like membership. So every single hotel or hostel or co-working space can issue a membership token just by their brand. Okay, so this is just like the fitness center selling the membership card there. Yeah, so every asset owner or the operators or the developers can do it in this way. Because I'm from internet background, so I work in Yahoo. I have my big data and marketing platform that I run for 10 years. So when we think about the product, we are not trying to, because we are combining real estate and blockchain, we are not trying to solve the problem that for the guys that have the money. We are trying to solve the problem for the guys that don't have the money to buy real estate products. So it's a different way of consideration. Yeah, so because we are from traditional internet. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So now we get to Phil, where you're setting up shop here in the United States. What's your spin on all this? You know, you're securitized. You're doing a security token.
Yes, in the U.S., I think the only way to go with tokenization is a security. I think with SEC regulations that have come out, we've looked at this over and over, and we have 3 law firms that we've engaged and used. One of them is Pulsinelli. They helped some of the major players like Kraken and Salt get established. We have Stoll Reeves, which is focused in securities across America. And every one of our law firms, and we have another one that's an inside house counsel, and we are convinced in America you need to be a security. So we have filed for a Reg D, we're in a Reg S offering, which is outside the United States, which allows outside investors to go and invest. And then we have a Reg A offering that is in the process, which we believe will be completed in September.
Okay, and I want to come back to the Reg A Plus thing because that's interesting. But now we're going to jump to John, because you have a different perspective because you're kind of an observer looking in. You guys are covering this space. What's your spin on how this is evolving domestically within the residential and the commercial markets?
Yeah, well, there's only one thing for certain, in that we're facing a debt crisis here in America. American debt, household debt, hit 13.1 trillion last year. That exceeded 2008. To give you guys an indication of the crisis that we're facing. I believe that blockchain technology will help innovate on a historically regulated space. Starting on the residential side, and mortgages have certainly helped increase the debt that the average American has held. And there haven't been a ton of vehicles out there from an investment standpoint, from a product standpoint on the lending side. Typically, if you're a homeowner out there, you really only have 2 options. Either you can refi your existing mortgage or get a HELOC. So one of the companies that we've been covering on the residential side is a company called Quantum RE, and Quantum allows Americans to unlock or provide liquidity to their existing asset without going into further debt. And then there's also Pangea that's out there. That's a consensus Ethereum based platform that we're keeping an eye on. And then on the commercial side, you know, there's a number of ways it can go, but you know, we're starting to see the tokenization of commercial assets individually. There's a company called Slice that's actually here today that is focusing on that, and there's another way that they're going to help unlock liquidity for existing assets.
Excellent. So that's a nice overall perspective there. I like the whole discussion about the Reg D, Reg S, Reg A+, because I'm one of these weird guys that likes the regulatory side of things. Eric, you're doing Reg D 506C right now, right?
That's correct.
You're doing Reg S too?
We are, yeah.
Are you going to do Reg A+?
We aren't. So as a real estate private equity firm that is completely debt-free at the fund level and at the property level, we're keen focused on the accredited investors in the United States at the moment. So that means that obviously that's an important part of verifying whether we admit investors or not based on their sophistication and their capabilities, appreciating the magnitude of the investment opportunity. But we are not looking at going below our minimum investment of $50,000, which would prompt us to look at other options.
Okay. Ray, what do you do? Which assumption are you using?
So we're primarily focused on 506C, which is accredited investors, and then allows us to obviously solicit to everybody. As far as, I agree with Phil in terms of regulations. We've looked at this about 6 months ago when we were thinking about doing an ICO. We held back, we were ready for it, we had investors lined up, but essentially we're waiting for the landscape to clear. And we've come across far too many companies that we've either been advising or been aware of that they've been receiving really good advice, they have attorneys on board, and yet they've structured things in such a way that they still fell foul of the regulations.
Then the SEC shows up and they screw up everything.
Exactly.
They just
So
fuck it up.
So my personal view is it's a lot easier to deal with regulations than to go around them. We're a long ways away from where new precedents, new laws are going to come out. Back in 2012, the Jobs Act came out because of a lot of confusion and people, fighting for, getting certain things done. I think the same thing will happen here. At some point it will happen. But we cannot build...
You're an optimist. I like that.
Yeah, but we cannot build a business model based on what might happen in the future. We have to build it on what's happening today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're in the midst of doing a Reg A+. Why is that?
Yeah, so then we should probably give the audience a little bit of background about Reg
Yeah,
D.
please.
So a Reg D is, as we've stated, is for accredited investors, meaning that you have to have $1 million in assets, not including your primary home, make $200,000 or $300,000 a year as a joint income. So what some of the people, even on our team, have said, well, that's why rich people stay rich and the poor people stay poor, because they don't have that opportunity to invest at an early stage. And the whole purpose for us is we want to allow the general public to be able to invest into a great opportunity. And so what we're offering is fractional ownership. Like one of the buildings, I've been huge into real estate ever since I was 18. Bought a house, another one, until my parents said I should move out and live in one of them. So I really...
So that's 19?
Yeah, that was at 18 and then 19 and all the way through college. So, and then I started moving into commercial real estate. And so I built a mall recently, a 3-story mall out of Boise, Idaho, called the Boise Tech Mall. We house a lot of innovators. And so that project cost me $500,000 in cash. Most people wouldn't have, or not a lot of people have maybe $500,000 in cash sitting there to put into a project. But they would love to be part of a big, large project like that. And so what we are offering is fractional ownership where people can get into those larger projects while maintaining liquidity. And that's the magic recipe. Because if I needed that cash or somebody else that started a project and all of a sudden maybe some health crisis or some major issue came about and they needed access to their capital, they couldn't pull it out without ruining the entire project. So with tokenization, we're able to allow investors to invest in our token while maintaining that liquidity and to be able to pull out their cash.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool that you're doing a Reg A+, and I think that's excellent that you're giving the opportunity to a wider audience to invest in this real estate class. I'm going to bitch for a second because I think the definition of an accredited investor is absolutely stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. Anytime you judge a person based on the size of their bank account versus their sophistication is simply ridiculous. What some people don't realize is there's actually legislation that has passed through the House of Representatives to change the definition. Unfortunately, the U.S. Senate is the place where good legislation goes to die. So who knows if we'll ever get that fixed. But if we get that definition fixed, I think allowing everybody who qualifies as sophisticated to access Reg D, 506C, or just Reg D, generic Reg D, that would be a game changer for real estate and also the wider audience of early stage investment. So I'm going to jump back to you, Eric. So do you want to deal with the hoi polloi, you know, the troublemaker like I am to invest, you know, $1,000 into, you know, whatever that cool Manhattan prime real estate building? Do you want to manage all that?
Well, I guess it depends on how that investment is going to flow into you, right? But the big challenge that the regulators are sensitive to is when that investor wants their $1,000 back, how are they going to get it back? And I think as an investment manager, that's one of the key things that we spend a lot of time thinking about, which is making sure that investors' principal is preserved and they have the opportunity to grow their wealth. So do we want to be dealing with an investor who is interested in allocating $1,000? The challenge becomes, it's not about whether we want to or not, it's about whether or not that investor can commit that capital for a period of time that they appreciate what that commitment means. So if they've committed $1,000 and in 6 months they need it back for something more tangible, like maybe food, then the question becomes, are we going to see a lot more regulation? And that's something we need to be mindful of today.
Okay, so John, I'm going to jump to you. So blockchain. Blockchain reduces friction, it increases transparency, and it boosts liquidity. And isn't that what we're talking about here? Just like removing all these hard stops and creating a more efficient market for the real estate sector, for this asset class, which is actually a pretty cool, good asset class to allow a wider audience to invest in. John, isn't that it? Aren't we going to get a liquidity premium for these assets once we have this type of liquidity?
Yeah, I think you know, looking at the real estate vertical, you know, blockchain helps enable some of what I would say are the native use cases. And I would say there's 3 native use cases that we've identified when it comes to the real estate market. And one of those is, the first one is the most obvious, and that's exchanging, you know, cryptocurrency for a particular asset. You know, Piper Moretti is someone who pioneered that. She's based out of Orange County. She was one of the first ones to sell a home through using Bitcoin. And you know, but that's probably going to be the less desirable of the other 2 opportunities. Was, you know, as you mentioned, providing or unlocking liquidity for existing assets is a massive market. There's a number of the platforms that I mentioned will help do that, but also, you know, opening up new markets, you know, to help reduce the friction that's happening right now in terms of international you know, dollars kind of flowing into the U.S. domestic market when it comes to, you know, offering some of those assets that may not have otherwise been available. Now people can come in through a security, by purchasing security tokens on a particular exchange. And I think also to benefit all of this is going to be the ATS systems, right? The you know, and those are the alternative trading platforms that are out there in the securities token market. That it's possible that real estate security tokens might beat some of the other equity plays to market for the ATSs.
Ricky, you're already seeing this. You're already seeing this because you've already sold the tokens. You're already seeing this type. Are you seeing a liquidity premium?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to like differentiate our project like from most of the projects I see in this event, because I see many of the projects doing is in a security way to do participate in the real estate investments. So this is about ownership, I think. Yeah. So because if you consider about the ownership, then it must be a security. So why we do consider on the usage is like because we would like to be a utility token. And if you consider the most like tradable cryptocurrency nowadays, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrency that trade in like Bitfinex, Bittrex, some kind of the huge exchange, all of them are utility token. So if you would like to have a highest liquidity, from my point of view, is still a utility at this moment. Of course, in the long run, I don't know the regulations, how it comes and how it evolves to a security token exchange. To now, utility is still the major trend. But I definitely see the trend of the SEC will set some regulation on the security token and facilitate the markets in this way.
So talking about compliance, right? Is it once the feds and the regulators see that blockchain can empower and enable compliance, KYC and AML, you can just cook all this in, aren't they just going to fall in love with distributed ledger technology? Isn't this our future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what we have to do is to create, use cases. A good example would be that, one of the concerns that legislators have is that, once you take in funds, how are you going to distribute those funds? How are you going to use those funds? Now, obviously, when you're a reputable firm like our friends here that have been doing this for a number of years, it's easy for them to manage that process. Now, going into this new world, you could create smart contracts that lock in that money and trigger an event when the money can be spent. And if it doesn't get used that way, the money doesn't disappear. That's one of the, massive benefits of this technology, that you cannot just run off with this money. You could lock that into a contract. There are a number of other ways we can use this technology, but I think we just have to find best use cases that are, applied to existing models and make them work, make people see that that's working, and then you build trust over time.
So Phil, this is the future. We're going to see that $217 trillion, it's eventually all going to be on the blockchain. So the guys like Ricky and everybody else here, getting in early is probably a good thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a touch on what he was just saying is the fact that with the regulations, we are looking at regulated exchanges. And I was excited to see Verb X that was here. They're focused on a regulated platform to allow TLC tokens, which is ours, to be traded in a security environment. So they handle all your KYC, your AML situations. Same with Robinhood. Our team's been in contact with them, and a Templum. And so those are the three. Also, I think T0 is another option.
Yeah, exactly. T0, Templum, they both have ATSs that are going to be doing this space, and they're going to play a role in this. So, do we have any time for questions from the audience? Do we have a minute or two? Do we have any questions from the audience? Maybe one or two? Right here. Is there a mic? Right there.
Hello, good afternoon, folks. I'm probably not ashamed to say this, but I want to be the first millionaire in my family, and I'm not.
Excellent.
I'm not an accredited investor. This is something I've been at 2 days. Nobody gave an answer. Does Regulation Plus is the investments protected? And also with the SEC, like I said, I'm not an accredited investor. And I have a couple coins now. Let's say if the SEC say, okay, you only can be an accredited investor to have crypto. If you're not an accredited investor, your cryptos are invalid. Am I protected, or is that even possible to happen?
They're not going to come after you for that, but I deeply disagree with the current definition of accredited investor, and I do think it's going to change. I don't know if it's going to change this year. I have been told it will change. But I think that'd be phenomenal to empower everybody to participate in these things. I think anytime you exclude an entire class of people from participating in an opportunity, it doesn't make sense. It ends up poorly. I mean, think about it. You allow people to go to Vegas. You allow people to scratch off lottery tickets. Why don't you let them invest in quality deals? It just doesn't make sense, at least in my mind. Another question.
Hi, my name is Darius. We also preparing real estate blockchain. And I have 3 questions. I don't know who I can address. So first question is, how are you going to solve cross-border transaction differences? Because there are a lot in legal issues and registration process and so on. The second question would be, can utility, I think this is going to be for Rick, can utility later on become security token? I think you touched a little bit on this. And the third question, can we lock tokens? If you do an ICO, can we lock for US and release it later when the laws are clear? So those are my questions. Thank you.
So I could touch on the last one as far as lock-in tokens. That's what we're doing today. So as accredited investors, because that's one of the rules for with SEC is you have 1 year hold for accredited investors. And that's another reason why we can't wait to go Reg A, because that opens the door for people to not have to hold for that length of a time period. So for Reg D, as somebody invests into our token, they cannot go out and exchange or sell, and it's locked in our contract. So until we push that button to allow them to be able to trade, then it's locked.
Ricky, you want to talk about cross-border?
Yeah, so we probably the second question. So because I think the security token just I mentioned is related to security and shares. So that's a way that that's a major principle of the security. And utility token is that something just related to the usage. Yeah, so just as I mentioned, it's like you're buying a hotel, the usage right. So we just preserve a discount rate, and then after a certain time of period, you can redeem the service or redeem the full cost there. So that it's just like a timeshare product. Yeah, but we break down and we split the timeshare to a small pieces of a month so that every single user can join down to like $700. Yeah, so that's our major principle of the product side.
If I should just add to the cross-border question, I think cross-border represents a huge opportunity. Now there's a number of ways we've already looked at in terms of ensuring that transactions can be done both ways. You know, in other words, investors from another country invest over here, and investors from here invest in another country. So part of where blockchain can come into it is around better validation of documentation, title, and also identity. So that's where I think that's a huge opportunity. Now, we don't have all the answers, but we do know that there are a number of companies that we're working closely with that are out there that are trying to figure this out. But that is definitely a big opportunity for us to work on.
I agree with you, but that's already happening, right? So cross-border investment transactions are taking place every day. What we're looking to do is make them free from friction, so that we encourage people to participate. The challenge really today is that we are not all thinking the same way about a cross-border transaction. And from one country to the next, the documentation and the regulation and the processes are completely different. So if we can simplify that, then of course it makes the process, even for an investment manager like us, a smoother, easier way to build relationships with our investor base.
Yep, I actually think that we need to have a digital assets exemption or a 2020 Act instead of a 33, 34, 40 Act. I think we need to revisit our entire security structure in the United States because I think it's really antiquated. That's my personal belief. I'm getting the signal that we need to finish this thing up. So I'm going to ask everybody to give a round of applause for everybody. Good be around for more questions. So thank you very much.
Testing. Hello, Crypto Invest Summit.
Better off.